Eyes knows. Eyes don't rightly know when I was born, between 1820 and 1822. Eyes knows I was born in Dorchester County, Maryland. My story goes, I was born a slave on Master Broder's plantation. My name is Arminta Ross. I was known as Minty, and my people called me Moses. I was born to Harriet Green and Benjamin Ross. I had 9 brothers and sisters. I was the 5th. My papa was a freedman. He reminded Master Bodas Mama was to be freed at the death of her master. Master Bodas said Mama will always be a slave and tore up her free papers. My 2 sisters were carried off on the chain gang. One left 2 chillings. I nearly forgot my sister cries that went off down south, never to be heard from again. I think slavery is the next thing to hell. If a person would send another into bondage, he would, if he could. Appears to me be bad enough to send him into hell if he could. I was 5 when old Master Borders hired me out to trap muskrats on an icy river. I got sick a lot and was sent back. He called me useless and says I got sick too much. I lay on my sick bed from Christmas to March. No sooner than I was well, I believe I was 11. I was hired out again to do housework to keep the mistress baby from crying. If the mistress baby cried, I got whipped. When she cried, I was whipped mercifully. When she cried, one day I got sight of the sugar bowl. I ain't nary had anything good. No sugar, no sweet. And that sugar bowl right by me did look so nice. And my mistress, with her back turned to me while she was fighting with her husband. So I just put my fingers in the bowl just to take one lump. And maybe she heard me. For she turned and she saw me. The next minute, the rawhide was down. I ran and hid in the pig pen for 5 days. I got hungry. I had nowhere else to go. I knew what was coming. That whooping left me with scars for life. I was unable to be hired out again. I was put in the fields. One day, something changed my life. We got together to shuck corn when a slave ran for freedom. The overseer saw him, ordered me and some others to go catch him. He runs into the general store. He's running for his freedom. There was no way out. The overseer came in and conning him. While he walked around looking for something to hit him with, he tells me to catch him. Made me angry. Overseer picked up a metal candle and the slave bolted behind me. Hit me. Cracked my skull. I had seizures and fainting spell that come up without warning. I believe it was from God. I had visions. I dreamed from God. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars, to change the world. In my dreams, I seem to see lines, and over the lines were green fields, lovely flowers, and beautiful white ladies reaching out their arms to me over the line. I couldn't reach them no how. I always fell before I got to the line. I went to work again, and there I worked with blood and sweat rolling down, tears I can't see. Master gave me permission to hire myself out as long as I paid him. I was hoping to buy my freedom. Appears like no matter how much money I saved, Master wasn't gonna let me go. I married John Tubman. He was a free man. His mama was free. I was always praying for poor old Master. Appears like I didn't do nothing but pray for poor old Master. Oh Lord, comfort old Master. Oh dear Lord, change his heart and make him a Christian. Old Master died. I got word, me and my brothers to be sold. I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it. I knew that there was one or two things I had the right to. That was liberty or death. If I couldn't have one, I had the other. I fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasts. And if the time came for me to go, I told myself, you'll be free or die. I said to the Lord, I'm going to hold steady unto you. I know you see me through. 'Twasn't me, it was the Lord. I always told myself, I trust you. I always will. I don't know where to go or what to do. I expect you to see me through. And he always did. Read my letter to the old folk. Give them my love and tell them to tell my brothers to be always watching unto prayer. And when the good old ship of Zion come along, be ready to step on board. I looked at my hands to see if eyes was the same person. There was such a glory over everything. The sun came up like gold through the trees. I thought I was in heaven. Finally, I had crossed the line. I was free, but there was no one there to welcome me. I was in a strange land, a stranger in a strange land. I freed thousands of enslaved people. I could have freed 1,000 more if they had known they were slaves. I was the conductor of the Underground Railroad for 8 years. I can say what most conductors can't say. Them coming from the main line look so destitute and naked. But I nary ran my train off the track, and I nary lost a passenger. Now, I've been freed. I know what terrible condition slavery is. I've seen hundreds of escaped slaves, but I never seen one willing to go back to be a slave. Now, I would like to pay tribute to those amazing people who embedded the legacy of Harriet Tubman.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones.
Today is February, the year 2022. We are at the Mount Holly Historical Society Museum in Mount Holly, North Carolina. I am Billie Luckey, and I will be interviewing Bert Freeman. Bert, you're here for our Black Histories project in Mount Holly, North Carolina. I understand that you are a fencer. What inspired you to become a fencer?
Well, Billie, first of all, let me say that it's a real honor to be a part of this effort, and thank you very much.
We appreciate you, Bert.
As far as being a fencer, when I went to the U.S. Naval Academy for college, we had to pick a sport, and everybody, all of the coaches gave a talk about their sport, and it turned out that the fencing coach was the most convincing for me. So I decided that, I think I'll try fencing. And I got on the freshman fencing team at the time, and ever since then, and I learned how to fence. That's where I learned how to fence. And my coach, his name was Andy Bellagere. He taught me how to fence, and that's where I learned how to fence, and I've been fencing ever since. And in my sophomore year, I started beating people, so I liked it.
Wonderful. Can you show us what your artifacts are here for fencing?
Sure. This is a weapon called a foil. You can see this is the point right here and the blade right there. And when you touch your opponent, there's a tip here that depresses, and that is electrical wire that goes up my shoulder and out my back. And when that tip gets depressed, there's an indication on the machine that the other person got hit.
Okay.
And I tried to make it so that the other person got hit more than I did. So that was really important. And so this is the foil, and that's, we just move back and forth on a strip that's about this wide. And the first person who gets 5 touches against the other person wins. And that's how the individual bouts took place.
What has influenced you the most about fencing in regards to your career and your personal life?
Well, one of the things that happened with me from a fencing standpoint was the opportunity to compete with a number of colleges, to compete with different teams. Our fencing team was in the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association. So we fenced fencing teams from colleges all across the country.
Wonderful.
And that was one of the things that I like. First of all, I like going different places. And the other thing that really came up for me was fencing different teams and different people with different personalities and meeting different people with different personalities. And our coach was a great coach because he took a whole bunch of us starting from scratch. And by the time that we were finished, some of us were All-Americans, some of us were national champions, and all in a period of about 4 years.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
How has that affected you and your business?
Well, one of the things that was really key, particularly in the business, and particularly in terms of what I teach, because I teach people how to use positive direction communication skills.
Okay.
And one of the things that really came out of fencing, different than came out of fencing, but one of the things that I wanted to express was how important it is to know where to concentrate your efforts in your business, in your company, in your job. And one of the things about fencing is that I learned that the best thing that I could do is concentrate on my point. Just look at it. And when I did that and decided to do that, and this was a few years after I learned, I won more competitions than any other time before that, simply by doing a very simple thing is concentrating on my point. And one of the things that really resonates for me talking to people as far as business is concerned is that a key part of fencing, that point touches a target. And a key part of a business or an organization is your frontline folks are the folks who touch the customer. They touch that target.
Okay.
And so if in an organization, just like fencing, if I put all of my concentration on that front line, on the folks who actually touch the target and those folks who actually touch the customer, then that increases the chances that I'm going to get more points. Just like concentration on that. When I concentrated on that point, I won more fencing bouts than I had ever before that.
So it's all about concentrating and focusing
on
your subject.
It's about knowing where to concentrate.
Okay.
And rather than concentrating on your subject, you concentrate on what touches the subject.
That's what's really key.
That's right. That's really, really key.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that you are an author here. You have a book, Taking Charge of Your Positive Direction.
Yes. Taking charge of your positive direction is, those are some skills that a number of years ago in the early 2000s created some skills called consistent positive direction. And very simply, it says, how do you focus yourself, once again, in the direction that you want to move to, rather than what you want to get away from. And a big part of that was learning how to show people how to do that, and there's a language to it. So I show people how to use that language of talking in the direction that you want to move toward rather than what you want to get away from. And always making your point when you do that.
How can we use that in the future for our youth?
That's first of all, it's a powerful question, and it's major. When we deal with our youth, a key part of that is I have to focus forward with my children or with our children, and getting myself focused forward in such a way that how do I interact with our children in a way that gets me focused on what they need to move towards and gets them focused on what they need to move towards. Sometimes, our children come from different backgrounds and they have a lot of, they get into a lot of stuff sometimes.
This is true.
Yeah. And it causes us sometimes to talk to them more about what we want them to get away from than what we want them to move towards. And one of the things that we can really do in that same context is talk about what we want to move toward and talk to our children about what we all want them to move towards. And that could be college graduation, it could be passing a test, whatever it is.
Because just like yourself, you went to college, you went through the Naval Academy, you became a fencer, you were in the United States Marines, and all of this has helped shape and mold you into the person that you are today.
And mold that thinking of moving forward. Sometimes I think back, well, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. But the fact is that I'm here now and use what I had from my past to be where I am now, and also to influence my children and other people's children to move forward as well.
That's a great positive direction that we all can benefit from.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching and sharing what we know with one another, and especially in inspiring our youth to be the best that they can be.
Awesome.
We want to thank
Can I
you in
borrow that? I like
closing.
that.
Sure, you can borrow that. Just a small fee.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking about our youth in this area. It would be great to get them involved in motivational speaking and training to help them plan their career and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to thank you again, Bert, for being here with us at the Mount Holly Historical Society and being a part of our Black History program. And we salute you and thank you for your service to your country. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. And I like the idea of thinking that, yes, what I've done and what we're doing is a part of history. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, glory. Oh, glory, glory. Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, the spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it go down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots, we on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up. One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours, it will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, glory. Oh, glory, glory.
Still trying to process the game last night. I've been part of Houday Nation for well over 30 years, and seeing the Bengals back in the Super Bowl, man, that was pretty awesome. But, came up short. I mean, y'all know, we all watched the game. And, I was thinking actually about how, how many players had to overcome adversity. How many of them had to have dreams in order to even play in that game? My boy Joe Burrow, last year messing up his leg, and 8 months later, he's leading his team back to the Super Bowl for the first time in over 30 years. What were his dreams, right? Like, what was he going through? What kind of work did he have to put in? How many times did he have to be in a gym, put in those hours to accomplish his dreams? Same with my boy Jamar Chase, right? It's one of those things, where sometimes though, when you're fighting, you're struggling, you're doing everything you can to accomplish your dreams, you come up a little bit short. They were there, right? They played in the big show in front of thousands of people, but they came up just a little bit short. But they'll get it next time, right? Because they over the years they've learned to pick themselves up, get through the adversity and come out on the other side of it as much as possible. And how'd they get there? They had to work hard. They had to put in the time. And I've been thinking a lot actually lately about dreams and about what it means to have dreams and, to put in the effort to accomplish your dreams. And, my auntie asked me if I would share a few thoughts with y'all about what dreaming means to me, what it might mean to y'all. And so hopefully over the next couple minutes, I can share a few nuggets of truth with y'all and make some sort of a difference as much as possible. But, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and I'm sure this happens, with sports players and other people, I wanted to talk a little bit about how dreams can change. Sometimes it's like, oh, kid on the block, he dreamed about playing in the NBA, or he dreamed about doing music or whatever it is, and he put in all the time and look, he made it. As if that was the only dream he could have had or she could have had. But I got to tell you, the first thing is dreams change, and that's okay. For me, I'm in business now. I wanted to be an astronaut, so obviously I'm in something different. And, I had a path. I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to go to the moon and beyond. I wanted to explore worlds that we hadn't been to. But my eyesight was bad. And so I couldn't join the Air Force to be an Air Force pilot, at least. And so I said, you know what, that's just not going to be for me. So I started dreaming other things, and that was all right. I dreamed actually about exploring, and I scuba dive all the time, or at least as much as I possibly can, because it's still a foreign world. You're not using your own oxygen. You're seeing foreign life down there. Dreams change, and I'm happy about that. It's okay. And I wanted to be an astronaut. I also wanted to be an engineer. It's like, can't be an astronaut. Maybe I'll be an engineer. Went to college for a little bit on that. Turned out that wasn't going to be for me. And like I said, I ended up in business, and that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. I learned pretty early on that dreams change, and that's okay. There was that song last night, Eminem, what a halftime show, right? Dr. Dre, Snoop, Mary, Eminem. Kudos for kneeling, bro. But you sing that song, you're dropping that beat and lose yourself. You only got one shot, so you got to take it. I got to tell most of y'all that that's not accurate. You may feel like you only got one shot. I was actually at this gig not too long ago with Google, and they were talking about one of their slogans, "Fail fast." And this black guy spoke up, and he's like, "What does that mean?" Because like where I'm from, he was saying, he's like, you get one chance. It's not that mentality, fail fast, while you're coding or innovating or whatever, and just pick yourself up and do it again a different time. Sometimes it's all you got is that one shot to get out of your situation that you didn't necessarily even create for yourself. But I got to tell you, for the most part, that's not true. You got many shots. As long as you're breathing, as long as you're upright, not 6 feet under, you got chances. You have a shot. And it doesn't matter like how far behind you start. There are things that are in your control to help you accomplish your dreams. You got to find a way. There are people who are going to be around to help you eventually, but you got to find a way. Just like this little silly, stupid story I was thinking about the other day how I was at one of my brother's football games when I was a little kid. And my dad was like, son, don't play down under the bleachers in the dirt. I was little, you know. Don't play down there in the dirt. I'm like, how are you gonna tell a little boy you can't play down in the dirt? And so apparently I went up, sat next to my dad, and I convinced all these other little kids start passing dirt up to me. So I made a dirt pit on the bleachers so I could play on the dirt. He didn't say don't get dirty. He said don't play under the bleachers in the dirt. You know, little boy dreaming about getting dirty like a lot of little boys do. He wasn't gonna stop me from being dirty. So I brought the dirt up. I had other people help me. And that's kind of a stupid story, right? But, you know, the principle is, you know, don't let people get in your way, you know, or at least figure out how to work around them, you know. Now, kids, obey your parents. I mean, don't go and disobey your parents. But, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, oftentimes we're just thinking we only got one chance at this thing, but that's not true. And sometimes you're like, oh, I'm not in control. I'm like, this is the only way I can get out. This is the only way I can accomplish whatever dream it is, right? And most of the time, that's not true either. You know, there are things that are in your control. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what are some of those things, right? Your effort. You know, like I'm sitting here in my gym and I'm thinking, you know, there's only so much I can do with this body. But what I can do is I can get myself down here to the gym. I can work out. And I get that not everyone even has that opportunity, right? And I'm not talking about just having your own gym. I'm talking about physical. And I got a cousin who paralyzed from here down, bad car accident, got a bad beat. But after he got paralyzed, he literally picked himself up. Dude is jacked from here up now, arms, chest, back, doing pull-ups all the time, you know, right there with his wheelchair and all of that, you know, and I'm sure he gets way down sometimes, you know, gets real low. But he said, you know what, I don't care. I mean, his overall life, the progression of his life now, you know, from his 20s when he had that accident to where he is now in his 30s, he's like, I don't care. I still have dreams. I still am me. I still want to get ripped. I still, you know, whatever it is. He had dreams and he was still doing his best with those things. He didn't let literally even being paralyzed from chest down stop him. Because he looked at what was in his control. And I'm just telling you, y'all can do the same. Whatever is in your control, go for it. You can control your mind as much as you can. You can put good knowledge in there. You can control your mouths as much as you can, right? Teach yourself. Watch others who you want to maybe learn from. That's in your control. And I got to tell you, the other thing that is in your control is optionality, meaning creating optionality for yourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to have all the options in the world right off the bat, right? You know, you got to sometimes take steps. But what you can do is choose to not limit the options that could be out there for you by making choices that aren't necessarily optimal long term, right? You know, it's kind of hard to create optionality for college or for vocational school or for whatever you want to do in life if you're sitting behind bars, or if you're not applying yourself in school or wherever it is you may find yourself. You know, you may be listening to this and maybe that already happened to you. That's all right. We make mistakes. Sometimes we get caught, sometimes we don't. We're all making some kind of mistake, right? But it doesn't matter where you are. You look at what choices can you make? What are the best choices that you can make? And you start making those choices to create more and more optionality for yourself. Now, there are a lot of things in the system that need to change, right? And I think a lot of people working on those things. There are obstacles that you could have. Some of it's racism, some of it's sexism, some of it's a whole bunch of things, right? And those aren't in your control all the time. But what is in your control is how you use your mind to make choices, how you use your mouth to make choices, how you use your feet to make choices, how you use your hands to make choices. That is in your control. And when you're dreaming, think about that. What do you control How do you create optionality for yourself, or don't limit the optionalities, right? What if you aren't dreaming? What if you aren't dreaming big, or you don't even know what to dream? Because that happens, right? You know, some people, it's like, oh, I knew I wanted to be a football player, or I knew I wanted to be an astronaut, or whatever, you know. And, you know, me, I grew up around Cape Canaveral, so it's like, okay, astronaut, that's something I could do. Not all of us have the, you know, purview of all these different kinds of dreams that are out there. So what isn't it? You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you. I mean, that's the first thing you got to think about, is there's nothing wrong with you. If you're not dreaming what someone else is dreaming, or whatever, you know. Something I want to tell you is, you're empowered to be you. You're empowered to have your dreams. You're empowered to be happy finding your path. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to have tough times, and that you know, you're just going to change all maybe your bad situations or whatever overnight. But at the end of the day, you're empowered to be you. You're empowered to dream for you and to do you. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, find your self-worth. Find what dream makes sense for you. And I got to tell you, maybe you have a dream that's like here, and you go for it, and that dream doesn't work out. That's all right, because somehow on that path, oftentimes something else is going to open up. I mean, I was working in business in college, studying political science, nothing to do with business, studying, working, and you know, I was applying myself, trying to get to grow in this organization where I was, and I got passed over at least 5 times for the kind of the top manager position that I was going for. I'm like, dude, like, what is wrong here? Like, is it my race? Is it, you know, what's going on? And I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I wasn't down on myself or anything per se, because I had a good job or whatever. But, you know, after a little bit of time, this guy came into my office to do some business, and he's like, you know, you might be a good candidate for an MBA, a master's in business. I hadn't really thought about it too much. I mean, I had thought about it and maybe looked at a couple of schools, but, you know, because I was applying myself at work and everything, I wasn't going too hard into it. And next thing I know, I'm in business school, right? It changed my life, changed my whole trajectory. It wasn't a dream per se that I originally had, but I was putting myself in situations that opened doors or created new visions that I could have for me. And y'all can do the same. That is in your power. You may start from a different spot, and that's okay. But if you make those choices, doors will start to appear. I mean, think about it like a video game or something. You know, you pass from one level to the next. You may not exactly know how to get there, but like options keep creating themselves, and doors keep opening, or whatever. It'll happen. Just believe it will happen over time. It may not happen right away. Especially, it's frustrating when you're looking, it's like, hey, how'd that guy do it? How'd that girl do it? Don't worry about all that. You're empowered to be you. And I gotta tell you, you know, here we are in Black History Month. You know, it's a month that's pretty special to me. Hopefully it has some meaning to y'all as well, no matter what your race is. And you know, we're looking at all the dreams that were accomplished. Jackie Robinson, Dr. King, you know, those are the typical names that we talk about, right? And we say, you know, are we what they would have wanted us to be now? You know, and sometimes I think about that, and I think that's somewhat okay. But at the end of the day, I don't have to necessarily be what they dreamed me to be. I was empowered to be me. Now, what I can be grateful for is the paths that they opened up, right? Their dreams opened paths, and hopefully my dreams will open paths for my kids, and maybe even for y'all at some point, depending on what you're doing. You know, so I just had to come to the realization that you know, even though we're studying and we're learning about all these like powerful Black figures during this month, we don't have to all be like that. You know, we got to find our dream. We got to find our path. We got to realize that we're empowered to do us individually. But in order to be able to do that, you have to make the choice. You have to make the choices every day. You wake up, make choices. You go to bed, next day, you wake up, you make choices. And those choices may seem like it's real slow in terms of how it's changing anything. But it's kind of like in the gym, right? I mean, you may start out in the gym and whatever your body type is, do a couple push-ups, maybe you can't even do a pull-up. You're like, man, been at this for weeks, what's happening? I'm looking in the mirror, nothing seems to be changing, and then bam, one day, you stick with it, you've hit your goals or whatever, right? Life is like that too. Sometimes you're not going to see the changes right away, but that's what dreaming creates for you. It creates a vision, a path, and then you just make those choices towards that path, and to get on that path, and to stay on that path. And then if that doesn't work out, it's all right. It's like, you know what? Got a new dream, right? But I gotta tell you, keep dreaming. You know, be happy while you're in the journey as much as you can, right? I mean, because it kind of sucks if all you're doing is trying to reach for something and it doesn't happen. And, you know, I mean, like Joe Burrow, I mean, my boy's like, you know, we're gonna celebrate this season. We're gonna be back for more. He's not like, oh, you know, all my dreams are over. I, you know, made it to the Super Bowl in my second season, but now my career's over. And not, you know, that's silly as an athlete or whatever, you know, but the attitude is the right attitude. Even most of the time in life, it's like, it's all right. It is okay. You're gonna fall down. You're gonna not win at something. You pick yourself up. You realize you have all the tools to be you. You know, my brother doesn't have the tools to be me. My sisters don't have the tools to be me. Y'all don't have the tools to be me. I don't have the tools to be y'all, but you have the tools to be yourself and to grow yourself and to achieve the things that you were meant to achieve. And I believe in you. You know, I don't know how many people tell y'all that. I don't even know y'all, but I believe in you because I believe in the generation that I hope I'm talking to right now. That y'all can be better than even my generation. But the only way you're going to get there is by making the choices to be the best version of you that you can be. Keep dreaming, y'all. I know this was a little bit longer than my auntie asked me to do, but I want y'all to hear a little bit about what's helped me, at least in my life. Maybe a little bit of it will help y'all too. You know, stay strong. Peace.